Nostalgia. That's pretty much it. But in all seriousness, this is a really cool bullpup that has a lot of nostalgia for people that have played video games or seen it in movies in the past. It has a lot of features that are both good and not so good, some features that don't make a lot of sense, and a couple really unique features that you just don't see that often. Right off the bat, this gun cost about $1,900, and in all honesty, I feel like this is a $1,000 gun with like $900 worth of nostalgia. It was a very expensive gun, and frankly, the only reason I bought it was because of the nostalgia. I've heard a lot about this gun. Not all of it has been good, but frankly, I just thought it was really cool. I use this gun a lot in video games. I really like the style of it. And this is technically my first bullpup, so I kind of wanted to see if it was something I would like and maybe give me another reason to buy a different bullpup in the future. For those that don't know, the Steyr AUG is a 5.56-223 bullpup with a 16-inch barrel. The reason you can fit a 16-inch barrel in this little package is because the chamber and bolt carrier are all back here. Reason why the mag is back here as well. Of course, this is a very controversial style. A lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it. I fall somewhere in the middle. It's definitely clunky and weird at first, but I don't have much training with this. Like I said earlier, this is my first bullpup. So I'm not gonna diss the bullpup just yet. I don't have enough rounds on it to make that opinion. However, it definitely feels weird. If you're somebody who's coming from a standard AR-15 style rifle, it just feels weird. Reloading in your armpit, trying to manipulate this rifle, it just feels weird. But again, this is my first time, so if it's your first time and you buy this thinking it's going to be a little subcompact 16-inch gun, you might have some training scars to work through, and it might feel a little awkward in the beginning. Sitting on top, we have the Meprolite M21. A lot of people thought this was the older Trijicon in our short we made about this gun. This sight actually does not have a battery. It is a fiber optic red dot. So when you look through the optic, you will see a little itty bitty triangle in there. I chose for the triangle version simply because of nostalgia again. I think this optic looks super cool on here. Since I bought the gun for nostalgia, I also had to go with a nostalgic style optic. The dot is pretty dim, especially indoors. I have yet to test this in very low light situation. It may completely suck. I'm not sure. We're not doing a review on the Meprolite, we're doing a review on the rifle. However, I do think it looks really cool on there. Working our way down, there's a really unique feature on the AUG. If you lock this back, you can actually flick this little lever and pull the entire barrel out. It's got this unique quick change barrel system. I guess this would make a lot of sense if this was a light machine gun or you were a machine gunner in the military. Frankly, I don't see why it's necessary on a semi-auto. Shooting this today, this build did get very hot, much hotter than I was expecting. So maybe that's why maybe this system cannot stay very cool and they had to do a quick change barrel system. Nevertheless, it's still very unique, and it has the little MP5 slat feature, which is also kind of unique. Something else that is kind of unique about the AUG is it has this built-in vertical grip that can fold down. I don't really know why they chose to do this. Probably because there's not much of a handguard to grab the rifle. So it is kind of nice having it. It feels very fuddish to hold a gun like this. Usually I'm used to C-clamping a rifle. Obviously you cannot do that with this because it gets so hot and you'd basically be holding onto the barrel. I forgot to mention it, that this is actually the A3 M1 version. I see they're coming out with an M2 that has a handguard. That M2 version is gonna have a rail segment on there. So you can put a hand stop or you could C-clamp the rail like normal. This is a very iconic vertical grip. You see it in pretty much every single video game and movie. That kind of adds a little something to this build. This does have an adjustable gas block. We did not mess with it. I think we had it on the full open setting and you definitely could tell. This gun actually had a surprisingly high amount of recoil for a 5.56. We were shooting 55 grain ammo and it just felt like it kicked like a 7.62 almost. Has substantially more recoil than a standard AR-15. And I think that has to do with all of this being plastic, the whole entire action getting moved back further and just being a smaller package. The AUG does have this side charging handle that you can lock. However, it is kind of difficult to get it to lock. It doesn't stick up much past the rail, so if you did want to flick it, like the MP5, you can't really get the full smack action. I did accidentally do that on a reload instead of hitting this bolt release, which was interesting. Again, it's kind of a training thing. Getting used to this rifle was definitely different. However, it wasn't impossible. I'm really excited for the Tavor that we purchased. I think it's going to be a better version of this, but more on that later. The trigger on this rifle sucks really bad. Everybody said it, this is nothing new. And to kind of give you an idea, the bolt is back here and the firing pin has to be behind that because obviously it has to strike the primer on the bullet. So you have a large linkage system in here, and what that's doing is it's just adding slop, it's adding torque, and it's just making it a very heavy, unrefined trigger pull. It's just very stiff. The reset's actually not too bad, but it's just a very stiff, airsoft gun feeling trigger that is not good. I know the military version has a progressive trigger where if you pull lightly, you get semi-auto, you pull a little heavier, you get burst, you pull all the way, you get full auto. Maybe that's part of the reason why this trigger sucks is this rifle was built for the military and they just kind of retrofit it to make it semi-auto. Also, obviously the linkage, it's just bad all around. I don't like this trigger, but I'm really interested to see how the trigger is on the Tavor when we get it, to see if all bullpup triggers suck or if maybe it's just the AUG. Another thing that kind of sucks on the rifle is the safety. It's very stiff. It's not very intuitive when you're shooting. When you go from low ready to compressed ready, you kind of break your grip. Where on an AR-15, you can just flick your thumb. You have to physically take your trigger finger off the trigger to press it because it's on the right-hand side. You cannot do anything with your thumb. It's just very counterintuitive. It takes longer to get your first shot off, either from low ready, high ready, doesn't matter. When you take that safety off and you go to fire, it just takes longer. It's just not a very good system. And it also reminds me of kind of like an airsoft trigger or maybe a BB gun trigger. Like, it's just bad. I don't know why they chose this. It looks like it's been the same since 1977. And down towards the back, we have obviously the mag well, where the mag goes in, the mag release, which is back here right behind the mag. There's virtually no mag well on here. And frankly, it's kind of depressing because I think they have so much plastic here, they really could have done a better job of making a mag well, especially since this gun is very counterintuitive and you're used to doing reloads up here, you have to move it back here. They could have did a little bit better job on some things that would have made the gun feel a lot more refined. The bolt release is here. Kind of makes sense when you do a reload on an AR-15 or the AUG. When you stick your mag in, it's right where your thumb is gonna land. So I think it's actually in a good position. It's just very stiff and you kind of have to bottom it out to get the bolt to go home. Again, just not very refined. For as much as I've dogged on the features of this gun, it's actually very comfortable to shoulder. Besides placing your hand here, which is very counterintuitive, to shoulder it, the length of pull feels really nice. The buttstock, for being just plastic and a little rubber pad, feels really nice. There's no hot spots in your hands. If your safety is on, you can feel it on your trigger finger, which is kind of annoying. But when you depress it, it feels very comfortable. For being in a bullpup, you don't feel all crunched up. This is a very capable rifle with very good ballistics in a small package. It's definitely something to keep in mind when you're looking at a rifle is you can have a very small package and not have to pay an SBR tax stamp. Frankly, I don't have enough rounds on this to test the reliability. Everything we've shot through it's been perfect. I've seen a lot of other videos where people say reliability's been awesome. Another thing I did notice about this gun is the quality's not perfect. The injection molding of the stock itself, there's a lot of gouging, there's a lot of mismatching, there's a lot of witness marks. It's just not super high quality. It just looks like a duty gun. There's people paying the same amount of money for a super high quality AR-15. And like I said earlier, it just seems very overpriced for the little nitpicky quality issues and blemishes I'm seeing all over this rifle. The overall quality of the stock, relatively solid besides the blemishes, but the plastic feels really cheap. Feels very stiff, which it probably has to be structurally, but it just does not feel like high quality. The proprietary magazines feel super cheap and do not seem like of high quality at all. We've had no issues with them, but they just, everything kind of feels like an airsoft gun. It's just plastic. Like, it's kind of hard to pay premium level pricing on a gun that just feels cheap. And that's kind of leads me to my next segment, which is, who is this gun for? I think this gun is for somebody who has a lot of nostalgia for it and does not want to tax stamp an AR-15. You get a really small package with this 5.56 16-inch barrel. You have really good ballistics. You have really good velocity. You're not sacrificing a lot of things, and you're keeping the size down, which is great because a 16-inch rifle honestly feels relatively long, and this is a very nice little package. Most people aren't going to be using this rifle for CQB. However, you could, and I'm kind of the person that likes to have one gun that can do everything. And this gun's very close. If it wasn't so expensive, there wasn't a lot of blemishes on it, the ergonomics weren't great, and maybe I had more time to train with a bullpup style rifle, I would like it a lot more. But this would be a very good gun that could be a do-all rifle. It's short, it's got great ballistics, there's a lot of good things about it, but all those little things add up to just make it kind of a cool range toy for me and not really a duty rifle. One thing that's kind of cool about this rifle is the ergonomics are good, but the weight balance is also really good. With an AR-15, you can get kind of front heavy. There's not a lot of weight towards the back, and this feels just like absolutely centered. It's actually kind of nice because you're not fighting the gun. For a full-size 16-inch rifle, just feels really good. And I would definitely consider that a pro of the AUG and probably any bullpup style rifle. If I had to recommend this rifle to somebody, it would be somebody who has a couple rifles and they're looking for something unique. They are not worried about it being a duty rifle. They're not worried about quality control issues. They just want something fun and maybe something that has some nostalgia for them. I think this does a really good job. You could 100% make this a duty gun. No doubt about it. But should you if there's better options? Probably not, but if you're somebody who doesn't care about price and you want to make this a duty gun, go for it. You definitely can do it. It's got the reliability, and frankly, that's kind of the most important thing. Everything else can kind of be learned and trained around, so definitely keep that in mind when you're looking at this rifle. I had a lot of bad things to say about it, but all in all, it's actually still a very cool gun, and it actually runs, so it beats out some of that competition. If you guys already have your primary rifle and you're looking for more cool options, we actually did a video on the PSA Jackal. It's another great option for you guys. If you guys like this video, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.